Hey everyone, welcome back to Cosmic Ray, and today I'm going to be doing a Q&A. This is the first part of many Q&A episodes that I plan on doing, and this is just going to be like a general Q&A. So I've got my Instagram questions saved and I'm going to be reading through them and answering. So here we go. The first question I got was, is there only one universe in space? Well, in terms of universe being one almost bubble of space-time where there are galaxies and stars and black holes and all that, I think yes. I think there is only one universe, but I'm not saying that that's a concrete fact. But in the scientific perspective, there could be more. And that's just because, anything really could exist that we haven't discovered yet. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's only one universe, but I don't know. So the next question says, if I would fall into a black hole, what would happen in regard to time itself? So when you get closer and closer to a massive object, a really massive object, your time will actually slow down and you won't experience your time slowing down. You won't feel like your time's any different. But if you have an astronaut watching you from several million kilometers away, they will see you frozen. Their time doesn't feel any different to them, and your time doesn't feel any different to you. So we always ask, from whose frame of reference, from whose point of view is this happening? There's no absolute time. When someone goes near a black hole, it's not like everyone's time freezes. It's just the astronaut looking at you freeze. Their whole life goes by and you've only witnessed a second. So they see you freeze, you see them go through their whole life, and you haven't even crossed the event horizon. It's very cool. Next question I got was, is a solar storm coming in 2025 which can shut down the internet? I love this question, and the reason is because I did a paper on the sun for school. This solar storm that people are afraid of, it's all over the news, solar storm coming in 2025, what is this? Well, let's actually define what a solar storm is first. Solar storms are caused by something that's known as coronal mass ejections, which is exactly what the name implies. Corona, meaning the outside atmosphere of the sun. Mass, solar mass, like plasma from the sun, being ejected. That's exactly what the name implies. And it can be so intense that electrons come and enter Earth's magnetosphere, and they come in through the poles because our magnetic field directs everything towards the poles. That's why we have magnetic poles, because that's where the magnetic field converges. All the electrons spiral down into these poles, north and south. And then what happens is kind of similar to your flame test in chemistry. So, when you spray some chemicals at a flame and the flame changes colour, what's happening is the atoms of the chemical you sprayed have absorbed some of the energy of the flame and then re-emit it as coloured light. Because the electrons absorb energy, they change energy levels, but they can't stay there for very long. So they go back down to where they were originally. And in order to conserve energy, they re-release it as light. It's kind of like if you're jumping on a pogo stick, you use that energy and jump up, but you have to come back down. And so you jump back down, and the pogo stick makes a sound when it hits the ground. It's the best analogy I could come up with. So similarly with the aurora borealis, which is the northern lights, and the aurora australis, the southern lights, you see emissions of colour as collisions between the electrons from the sun and the electrons in the atmosphere occur. And the electrons in the atmosphere absorb this energy from the collision, and then they release this beautiful coloured light. And because of the nitrogen and oxygen in the atmosphere, certain colours are emitted because certain atoms have certain amounts of energy they can absorb and emit. When these coronal mass ejections happen, they don't just cause auroras. They also cause something that was never an issue until the telegraph was invented. When the electrons enter the magnetosphere, it actually messes with our technology. One of the biggest problems is actually the transformers. These can be very damaged, and irreparably so, to the point that you would have to rebuild a whole set of them in order to get power going back up again. And you've also got the risk of, because our infrastructure isn't made to avoid solar flares and coronal mass ejections, we're at risk. We really are. So the reason this year is a major concern and next year is because of what's called the solar maximum. So this is the point in the sun's cycle where the most coronal mass ejections happen. And the reason it has a solar cycle is because its magnetic field flips direction every 11 years. So its North Pole becomes its South Pole becomes its North Pole. And every time we get up to these maximums, we get better northern lights and southern lights. But we also have a far higher risk to our technology. There may be a solar storm coming in 2025, and if it does come, it can very well shut down the internet. It's more likely to come this year than next year though, because this year's the solar maximum. Okay, so the next question is a bit more of a fun question, which I like. I will happily take fun science questions. Fave sci-fi books. Well, I haven't actually read that many sci-fi books. I know, that's crazy. Like, I literally did a reel recently advertising these, and I was really excited about these books. But they're non-fiction. They're like actually about science. So I like informative, interesting, like diagram-filled, like peer-reviewed books that I can read that I learn stuff from. I do like sci-fi books, but only if they're really, really good, if the plot's really interesting. One of the sci-fi books I read was set in Sydney. It's a really good book. Actually, I highly recommend it. Whisper and Weapon by Lynette Noni. They're amazing. Yeah, but they're probably my favorite, actually. Whisper and Weapon. And they're not like space-themed either. They're like psychology, but still, you know. I also read this book called Defending the Galaxy, which is like the first of a trilogy, but my attention span did not allow me to finish it. It was actually a really good book. I was also doing a lot of assignments when I was reading it, so I probably have a better attention span with it now. But I highly recommend, if you're looking for good sci-fi movies, The Martian, amazing. Everyone talks about Interstellar, and I love it. It is my favorite movie of all time. That's not a part of a franchise. So it's like so good. It's incredible. But there's also other ones that not many people talk about, or maybe people do, but just not as much. The Martian, incredible. It's feasible, but it's also futuristic. Like it could happen, but not right now. And I love that. I love movies that are like that. I actually got like really panicky during it. I was like, what's gonna happen? Because it was terrifying, but I loved it. Also Gravity. I love a good Sandra Bullock movie. So good. And also Hidden Figures. It's not a sci-fi movie. It's like a movie documentary. And I love how they talk about women in STEM who are, you know, being represented, and it's just so beautiful how it covers the story of Katherine Johnson and her colleagues, and not just their work in like being human computers. You know, they have lives. They don't just go to NASA and work and then go home. Like they explore their lives as well. And their contribution to the moon landing was incredible. It's probably my favorite movie based on a true story. It's incredible. But I love space movies. So I actually love them more than like space fiction books because they capture my attention a little more, and you can like see the physics on screen. If I want to read about the physics, I'll read something I can really learn from. Not that I'm not open to sci-fi suggestions. I'll give them a good try. You can comment some good sci-fi books down below. I guess I just haven't found like the one yet, you know? I did write one as well. I wrote a sci-fi book in a week when I was in year 10 for a school project, and I don't think many people got to read it. Should I make it public? Please tell me. And I will only do so if I edit it. So anyways. Alrighty, next. Someone also asked me another more personal question, which I really like, is are you going to Tasmania to see the auroras? If I had like money, yes. If I had money, I'll go to Iceland to see the auroras. I'll go to Iceland to see the northern lights, and then I'll go to Tasmania to see the southern lights. I really want to go. It's been my dream.
A few moments later.
Just like walking outside of your hotel, and the stars are just numerous, and like the sky is clear, and you've got these beautiful coloured bright lights in the sky. So yes, I would love to. And I think I'll try to go to Tasmania. Iceland's kind of out of the question in terms of time and money, maybe one day. But while there's a solar maximum, like I was talking about earlier, I really want to see them. So Tasmania probably, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So this next question is from a friend of mine who often jokes that I'm crazy for studying and stuff, but simultaneously is very supportive. She said, what is the point of searching far into space when we can't even get there? Yeah, I've wondered this myself, and honestly, I personally would prefer to work in the theory side. I've actually had, it's so funny, I've had so many people ask me, are you ever going to go to space? And I was like, first of all, that is a really selective process that I'll probably never qualify for. And two, I don't want to undergo 10 Gs accelerating through the Earth's atmosphere. That's terrifying and nauseating. And three, I don't want to have existential crises for the rest of my life. So I agree with her in that point that There's a lot we can do on Earth with our money that we do with like money from billionaires who have space industries. Not saying anyone's name, could get removed. And whilst it's a noble cause, there's also a lot of other noble causes. So I guess my first answer to that is I do think we need to spend more finances on the needy and the poor and homeless and people under, you know, certain conditions, and I think we need to care more about our people. But there are heaps of incredible things that come from space research that I am all for. And we actually have technological advancements from aerospace engineering, and the application of astrophysics concepts is really cool, how it can actually help people through that. The other thing is it gives us a better understanding of the formation of the universe, stars, planets, and the elements on Earth. Like some of the elements on Earth can only be created with the amount of energy that's in a supernova, right? So when we study those, we understand, okay, like why do we have them here? What's the abundance that we have here? And also, I think this is really like understated, but the human mind is so curious, and I think there is something so good in satisfying that curiosity. Not to the point where we want to have to know everything, because we never will know everything, because nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. So there's information that will never reach us in our lifetime. Awesome to know, like, what is a galaxy 1 billion light years away, like 5 billion, even 10 billion light years away look like, and what can it tell us about our universe? So yeah, I think searching far into space has benefited technology, but also the human mind, and it's like the understanding of our existence. It also, though, can be doing the opposite, and I find when I study space too much and I spend too much time doing physics and blah blah blah, I have like existential moments where I'm like, everything I do could be considered insignificant when we look far away. So it's good to just look close up again. Go for a bushwalk in the mountains, go for a swim at sunset, spend time with your friends on the beach. Do things that make you feel grounded and like you are real, you are a human life, and you are valued and you are important. And so many scientists will tell you that you are not, but that is not the truth. It doesn't matter if we're accidental or not. I personally believe we aren't. But even if we were, that shouldn't define whether you have value or not. And your imprint on this world may seem insignificant from 15 billion light years away, but we live on our planet. And we can look at that beautiful blue dot from however far away Voyager is and see that we seem insignificant, caught in a beam of sunlight. But ultimately, we are still important here. So as much as looking out into space is so valuable for so many reasons, remember to look around you too. Don't just look up, but look around you once in a while and see that you are valued, you are important, and you can leave an impact. So the next question is, after that existential crisis, how much space is in space? Well, brilliant question. Do you mean outer space or empty space? If you mean outer space, we don't know. Could be finite, could be infinite, but we can predict how much empty space there is. Roughly 5% of the universe is normal matter. But we have dark matter, and we have dark energy that takes up the rest of our universe. Next question. Funny space stories / fact. I want to share probably my favorite one within the topic of the moon, and that is that footprints on the moon will never fade. Well, probably one day, but for millions of years, the footprints will look exactly the same. If you go to the moon, you will see Neil Armstrong's boots in the sand. The reason is because there's no wind and there's no rain. Theoretically, those footprints should last a very long time. And also there's a golf ball on the moon. Where? I don't know, but there just is. There's a golf ball on the moon. A dude played golf on the moon when he was on his moon mission, and he hit it, and the golf ball is somewhere. If you ever go to the moon, find the golf ball for me. That's all I have time for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you for watching my Q&A. And stay tuned for more. Ultimate Grey, signing off.